ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Okay, so we were on Anuvaka number 5 of Brahmananda Valli, and we had done up to Brahma Jeshtham Upasate. So we look at the next line of the mantra. Vijnanam Brahma Ched Veda Tasmat Chenna Pramadyati. So until now was the Upasana on Hiranyagarbha, and now we are coming to Vyashti Samashti Aikyam. Shruti is going to point out that there is really no difference between the micro and the macro. So this is called the Vyashti Samashti Aikya Upasana. Okay. Also remember that previously we talked about the Upasana done by Devatas, right? Because we said this is Upasana done by Devatas in their previous Janma, because Devatas are not able to do karma, so the reference has to be to the karma done by them in the Janma before they became Devatas. So that was the Upasana, and here it is Upasana by Manushyas only, okay, by human beings only. So he says, supposing one is meditating upon Hiranyagarbha. One second, I'll just mute you all. Okay. Supposing one is meditating upon Hiranyagarbha, and here the Vijnanam Brahmachet. Supposing you are meditating upon him, Hiranyagarbha, and not only are you doing the Upasana, right? You are Chet na Pramadhyati, right? Pramadhyati, Pramadam is what? It is negligence. So Tasmat Brahmanaha Chetna Pramadhyati. The Upasaka is not only meditating, he is not being negligent, which means he is following the rules which have been laid down for Hiranyagarbha Upasana. And what are the rules? We saw in chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, we saw what? Sarveshu Kaleshu, you have to do Upasana all the time. And that includes, Sarveshu Kaleshu includes Marana Kale also. During the time of death also, you have to do Upasana. And if you do that, then you are not negligent. So, na pramadhyati, you will not be negligent. Shankara supplies another explanation, which is also equally beautiful. So he says, explanation of what? Explanation of pramadhyati, of not being negligent. So Shankara says that when this upasana is being done, the upasaka must identify with what? With the Vijnanamaya Atma, right? Which means he is disidentifying with the other three koshas. What are the other three koshas? Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya. He has demoted them all to the status of kosha. And therefore, he must now identify with Vijnanamaya as the Atma. Remember, this is the Panchakosha Viveka discussion. So, you must identify with Vijnanamaya Atma. He is saying that this Vijnanamaya is myself. And to say that, you must say that Annamaya I am not, Pranamaya I am not, Manomaya I am not. Therefore, you have to disidentify with the other three, right? And once you identify yourself as Vijnanamaya, the Atma, that is the Vyashti identification. And that, as we saw in each of the other cases, you have to extend that to Samashti Vijnanamaya also. You have to identify with Samashti Vijnanamaya also. What is another name for Samashti Vijnanamaya? Nobody? What is Samashti Vijnanamaya? Come on, guys.
Hiranyagarbha.
Hiranyagarbha. Okay, Samashti Vijnanamaya is Hiranyagarbha because we are talking about the reflection of Brahman in the Sukshma, Samashti Sukshma Shariram. So that is Vijnanamaya. So he has to identify with Hiranyagarbha only. And therefore, to identify with Hiranyagarbha, he has to ensure that his identification with Annamaya, with Pranamaya and Manomaya has dropped. And Shankara says that if he identifies with any of these three, then Pramadayati, he is being negligent. But if he does not, then it falls under Na Pramadayati. Tasmat Chet Na Pramadayati. If he does not identify with the three koshas, and he has identified with the Vijnanamaya Atma, and has extended that identification to Samashti Vijnanamaya, which is Hiranyagarbha, then what will happen? He gives the result. Sharire Papmano Hitva. So this word Sharire can have two meanings, right? So some sub-commentators say that Sharire means even while living. So this is basically Jivan Mukti he is talking about. Sharire Papmano Hitva. Even while living, they are free from Pap. Papmano Hitva means the Papams are dropped or the Papams are released. They are eliminated. So Sharire has to be taken as even while living, they are free from Papams even though they are alive and doing karma. And Shankara adds the papams which are due to the Sharira Abhimanam, identification with the bodies, they will go away. So what is the logic? Because he has no more Abhimana with Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya. So Karana Abhave Karyam Nasti, where the cause of the papams, Karanam, the cause of the papams, are the three are the bodies, are the koshas, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya. Those koshas themselves he has rejected. Where is the question of a product from those koshas? So when the cause has gone away, the product goes away also. And Shankara gives a very nice example. He says, Chhatrapaya eva chaya payaha. You can understand? Chhatra apayaha. Chhatra is Chhatri. Chhatri apayaha. What does apaya mean?
Unavailability. Not available.
Agama apayinaha. Agama apayinaha. What does it mean?
Apaya is threat. Jana.
Agama means what comes. You've forgotten.
What goes.
Bhagavad Gita.
What goes.
Agama apayinaha is what comes and what goes. So apayinaha. So he says chhatra apayaha. Chhatra means chhatra is chhatri. In Hindi it's called chhatri, umbrella. So chhatra apayaha, when the umbrella goes away, chaya apayaha sati. Even the shade goes away. Right? So it's a very beautiful example. When the cause for the shade is gone, the cause is the umbrella. Obviously, shade can no longer remain. So we have to note here that there are two meanings possible for the word sharire. Okay, we are going a bit grammatical here. I won't get into the grammar part of it, but the word sharire can be used as in two meanings: in the body, and even, but that's one meaning, in the body, and the other meaning is even when the body is alive. So two meanings are there. In Sanskrit grammar, the first type of usage is called adhikarana saptami, sharire, in the body. And the second type is called sati saptami, even while the body is alive. So in the first interpretation, what will it mean? It will mean that in the body, all the papams are dropped. When the upasaka leaves the body, this is marana kale, right? At the time of death. The time of death, what happens is the body, the physical body, is left behind to be cremated, and therefore one interpretation is that the Hiranyagarbha Upasaka, he leaves behind all his papams in the body, because the papams don't belong to him since he has not identified himself with the first three koshas. And therefore, it should be taken as the Upasaka does not carry any papam with him at the time of death. Okay. Now, if the Upasaka is traveling, remember, all the teaching has to be talked about here. This Upasaka who is traveling, which gati does he take? That's why I keep saying, please revise.
Shukla Gati.
He takes Shukla Gati. And what happens when he takes Shukla Gati?
Goes to Brahmaloka and
He goes to Brahmaloka, he gets Brahma Jnanam, and he's not carrying the papams there. So his mind is clear, he immediately gets the Jnanam and he gets moksha. Okay, so that is one meaning. He drops the papams in the body, which is going to be cremated, and he travels. The other one is Sharire, even while alive in the body, the Upasaka becomes free from papams because of the fact that he does not have ahankara mamakara. He is not identified with aham, he is not identified with mama also. Neither mine nor me. I and mine are not there. Therefore, that papam drops even while in the body, and then you have to extend it further. After the death of the body, he will go through Shuklagati, he will go to Brahmaloka, he will get Jnanam, and he will get moksha. Okay, so two meanings are there, but the conclusion is the same. Whichever meaning you take, he travels by Shuklagati after death, goes to Brahmaloka, gets Jnanam, gets Krama Mukti. Okay, so that is the meaning here. Then the next line is Sarvan Kaman Samashnuta Iti. Okay. Now, if you look at the mantra, it says Samashnuta Iti, and that's only the Sandhi part of it. So when you break it up, you have to write Sarvan Kaman Samashnute Iti. Samashnute means Samyak Bhungte, that is completely enjoys. Bhungte means enjoy, Samyak means completely. Samashnute, he completely enjoys what? Sarvan Kaman, all the pleasures available. And where is he now? He is in Brahmaloka because he has already gone through Shuklagati. So all the pleasures available in Brahmaloka, whatever material pleasures are available, he enjoys because he has a very refined body and a very long life. So he enjoys all the pleasures available in Brahmaloka. Remember here, moksha is not in the ambit of this upasaka when you say this, because why? The upasana has been sakama upasana. It is, if the upasana has been sakama, then you will go to Brahmaloka, but you will not go to Brahmaji. You will enjoy all the pleasures and then you will come back. But if the upasana has been nishkama, then you will go to Brahmaloka. And this, of course, the Upanishad doesn't mention here. But he'll still go to Brahmaloka, but he has Chitta Shuddhi. And because he has Chitta Shuddhi, he goes and gets Jnanam and he gets moksha. Two things are there when you go to Brahmaloka, depending upon the mode of your upasana. If the upasana has been Sakama upasana, you will definitely go to Brahmaloka because you have done karma plus upasana. But there the phalam is a lot of pleasures. Sarvan, Kaman, Samashnute iti. Okay. And if it is not there, if that Sakama upasana has not been there, if it has been Nishkama upasana, then you will go to Brahmaloka, go to Brahmaji, attend classes, get Jnanam, and get Karma Mukti. Okay. Now, there is a iti over here. Sarvan, Kaman, Samashnute iti. Iti means what? The rig mantra referred to has ended. So from Vijnanam Yajnam Tanute up to Sarvan, Kaman, Samashnute is the rig mantra. The rig mantra is over. Now we are coming back to the main mantra, the Moolam itself. Tasyesha eva Sharira Atma Yaf Purvasya. So, Eshaha. Eshaha refers to this. This is what? This is the Vijnanamaya, the Vijnanamaya Atma. Eshaha Yaha Shariraha, which is this Vijnanamaya, which is inside this body, Atma Eva. is indeed the Atma. This is what the stage where the Upasaka is claiming himself as Vijnanamaya Atma, not Vijnanamaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Atma. So, Tasyesha eva Sharira Atma. So, Yaha Sharira in this body, Eshaha, this Vijnanamaya which is in this body, that indeed I am. Eva Atma, that I am. So, the Atma of the previous one, Manomaya. Atma meaning the essence of that Manomaya is what? Is this Vijnanamaya. And the Vijnanamaya is where? In the Dehi. And the Dehi is where? In the Manomaya Kosha. Okay. Right. Then we look at the other part of it. Next part of it. Tasmadva etasmad Vijnanamaya. Then Anyontara Atmanandamaya Tena Esha Purnaha Sava Esha Purushavida Eva Tasya Purushavidatam Anvayam Purushavida Tasya Priyameva Shiraha Modo Dakshina Pakshaha Pramoda Uttara Pakshaha Ananda Atma Brahma Pucham Pratishtha Tadapyesha Shloko Bhavati. So there is something in the which you left out, Yaf Purvasya. It means like the previous one. Yaf Purvasya means the explanation is just like the previous one. Just as the Manomaya was the essence, the Atma of the Pranamaya, similarly this Vijnanamaya is the essence of the Manomaya. It's simply an extension of that. So this mantra doesn't really repeat. Yaf Purvasya means as before. So as before, that explanation has to be understood. Okay, now Tasmad Va. Tasmat Vai. Vai means in fact. In fact, what? Anya Antara Atma Anandamaya. So Tasmat Vijnanamayat. Therefore, in respect of that Vijnanamaya Atma, Anyaha, there is something else. There is another Atma, Antaraha, which is interior to Vijnanamaya. And what is that Atma? Anandamaya. Okay. This Anyo Antara Anandamaya. This Anandamaya is interior to the Vijnanamaya. So now Anandamaya is the Atma, and I have relegated Vijnanamaya to Kosha. So from the physical body, Annamaya, I traveled to Pranamaya, and I said, okay, Annamaya is no longer the Atma, it is the Kosha. Then from Pranamaya, I traveled to Manomaya, and I said, Pranamaya is the Kosha. From Manomaya, I traveled to Vijnanamaya. I said, okay, Vijnanamaya is the Atma and Manomaya is the Kosha. Now from Vijnanamaya, I am traveling to Anandamaya, and I am saying Vijnanamaya is the Kosha. And what is the Atma? Anandamaya is the Atma. And that Anandamaya is Anyaha, different from Vijnanamaya, and Antaraha, interior to Vijnanamaya. The same descriptions. Tenaisha Purnaha. This Vijnanamaya, Eshaha, this Vijnanamaya, Tena Purnaha, is filled by what? Tena. Tena here is the new Anandamaya. So, Anandamaya is Tena, Anandamayena. So, Esha Purnaha means this Vijnanamaya is filled by the Anandamaya. And not only that, Sava Esha Purushavida Eva. This Anandamaya has also taken the human form. Why? Tasya Purushavidatam Anu Ayam Purushavidaha. Because the Anandamaya has been poured into the Vijnanamaya, which was in human form because it was poured into Manomaya, which was in human form because it was poured into Pranamaya, which was in human form because it was poured into the human form itself, which is Annamaya. And therefore, the Anandamaya is also of human form. And therefore, it says Anu Purushavida. Ayam Purushavida Anuhu. It's in keeping with the human form. So, up to the Anandamaya, all have taken the content, the shape of the container. The content has taken the shape of the container. And the final container was what? It was Annamaya, which really has a physical body. And therefore, here also, the shapes of each interior kosha is borrowed from the Annamaya kosha. Right? So, therefore, all the koshas have borrowed shape excepting the Annamaya kosha, which has got the original shape. Okay. Then what are the parts? Right? We have to talk about parts. So, he says, Tasya priyam eva shiraha modo dakshina pakshaha pramoda uttara pakshaha. So, Anandamaya consists of three things: Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. And since it has got parts, what is he saying? Anandamaya is also a kosha because it has got parts. Therefore, Tasya, of that Anandamaya kosha, Priyam eva Tasya shiraha. Priyam is the head. Shiraha. Modaha dakshina pakshaha. Moda is the right side. And Pramodaha uttara pakshaha. Pramodaha is the left side. So, what is the difference between Priya, Moda, Pramoda?
Darshanam, Grahanam, and Anubhav.
Darshanam,
Any
Grahanam, and Anubhava. Right. So, anything which is dear to you is when is so Ishtha. Ishtha means what is dear to you. So, Ishtha Darshanam Ja Sukham. Darshanam Ja Sukham. The Sukham which is born out of Ishtha Darshanam. Darshanajam Sukham. So, just by seeing an object, that happiness which you get, that is called Priya. Then Ishta Grahanajam Sukham. When you acquire the object, a little extra Sukham is there, that is called Modaha. And when you enjoy the object, Pramoda is what? Ishta Anubhavajam Sukham. When you enjoy the object, it is called Pramoda. So it's order of increasing order. Priya is the lowest, Moda is more, and Pramoda is the most. So when you see some Rasagulla in the shop, that is Priya. When you buy the Rasagulla, you have acquired it. That is Moda. When you eat it, you have got Pramoda, the Anubhava. And here, these are all, remember, these are all graded pleasures which arrive and departure. And that is why Ananda Mayaha, the very word Maya, indicates it's a product. And Maya therefore indicates that these three parts, the Priya, Moda, Pramoda, they have arrival and they have departure. They are temporary. So up to Anandamaya is Kosha only. Right? So Priya, Moda, Pramoda are the parts of Anandamaya. Now comes the main part. He says, Ananda Atma Brahma Pucham Pratishtha Tadapyesha Shloko Bhavati. Okay. So Ananda Atma. Ananda is the central part. Right? You will notice that there is no Maya added over here. Up to the previous, everywhere there was a Maya. Atma, Ananda, Maya earlier. And now it is only Atma. The Maya has been dropped. Therefore, Shruti is saying that even the Ananda Maya, by adding the word Maya, it is saying that it is Karyam. It's a Vikara, it's a product. And therefore, that is not the real Atma. But Ananda Atma is here. Ananda is the central part. So in Sanskrit grammar, whenever you add the word, the suffix Maya, it conveys the idea of a product, a modification. And without this modification, wherever there is a modification, there is fluctuation, there is change. And therefore, whenever you see the word Maya added after a word, you must know that that is a fluctuating commodity. It comes and goes. And here by dropping the word Maya, Shruti is indicating that Ananda here is non-fluctuating. It is non-demand, not departing, not arriving. It is permanently there. It's a not graded Ananda. There is no grading here. And therefore, this is the real nature. Ananda Swarupaha. It is my own nature, non-changing Ananda Swarupam. And once I know myself as Ananda, so now he's claiming that Ananda Atma, I am this Ananda. What happens to Anandamaya Kosha? Anandamaya also becomes a Kosha. So with this, he has demoted all the 5 koshas to Anatma. And in the last kosha, Priya, Moda, Pramoda indicates all pleasures which can be experienced. And therefore, he is saying that any experienceable pleasure is nothing but Anatma. And you must remember the 5 steps we followed. Karyatva Nishchayaha, Namarupa Nishchayaha, Mithyartha Nishchayaha, and Ravilapanam. Right? That resolution. Any experienced pleasure is Kosha Ananda because it arrives and departs. And therefore, it's an object of experiences. But this Atma Ananda which I am, it is not experienced at all because it is myself. I am the Ananda Atma. So that is the explanation here. After going through all the Panchakoshas, after relegating all of them to the status of Anatma, now we have reached Atma. I am claiming myself to be Atma, Brahman. And he says, Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. Brahma Pucham. Pucham is the lower part. Therefore, Brahman is the lower part, Pratishtha, which is the support. Therefore, not only this Ananda is myself, this Ananda also is Brahman, which is the very support. So, really speaking, when you say Brahmananda, it is nothing but Atmananda. And here the word Pucham simply means that it is identical. Like when I say the ocean is, or when I say the clay is the support for the pot, what am I saying? Clay is not really different from the pot. And therefore, here I am saying that this Brahmananda is really the support of everything that is there. How do I know? We saw in the beginning of the Upanishad, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahm. From that Atma alone, creation is born, indicating that Brahman and Atman are identical. So here the identity is being given, that Brahman is not different from Atma. Remember, you are claiming what? Ananda Atma, and you are saying Brahma Pucham. In those 2 parts of the mantra, you are also saying Atma is not different from Brahman. Brahman is not different from Atma. Both are identical. Okay. Now, before we wind up this Anuvaka, let's just look at the differences between experienced pleasure and pleasure which is the Ananda, which is part of Brahman, or which is Brahman itself, or Atma itself. So we can call it Atmananda is one, and experienced pleasures, because pleasures are experienced in all the koshas only, we can call that as Kosha Ananda. So there is a difference between Atma Ananda and Kosha Ananda. What are they? Kosha Ananda is experienced pleasure. Atma Ananda is understood. It is an intellectual understanding. It's a non-experienceable I. Understanding myself as Ananda, that is Atmananda or Brahmananda. Having a reflected pleasure, that is Koshananda. Koshananda comes and goes, number 2. Atmananda remains permanently. So Koshananda is subject to arrival and departure, because Atmananda is I myself, the very substratum of the whole universe. I am neither subject to arrival nor to departure. It is only the universe which arrives in me and departs from me, but I remain there. And therefore, whatever I experience is Koshananda only, because Atmananda is never available for experience, because I am the experiencer myself. I am Atma myself. How is it going to be available to me? Just like whenever I look at a mirror, I see only the reflected I. Original is there. And without the original, the reflected one cannot be seen. But the original cannot be seen. The reflected eye comes and goes, depending upon what? The mirror coming and going. And that's one more thing. One more difference is the reflection can have different qualities depending upon the quality of the reflecting medium. Therefore, Koshananda can have gradations. Atmananda has no gradations. So what has come out of this Panchakosha meditation? It has revealed that Aham Satyam Jnanam Anantam Ananda Swarupam. That I am Satyam Jnanam Anantam Anandam. So also revealed that I am Brahman alone, and that I, Brahman, am different from the Panchakoshas. Right? Because I have, what did I do? I relegated all the Panchakoshas to Anatma. Therefore, I, Brahman, am Atma, which is different from Panchakoshas. Panchakosha Vilakshana Ananda Swarupaha. And then he says, Tadapi Esha Sloko Bhavati. In this regard also, there is a sloka. So remember, just one point, that after dealing with each kosha, if you look at all the Anuvakas, after dealing with each kosha, there is a phrase, Anyo Antara Atma, at each stage. Anyaha Antara Atma, which means that this one is different from and is interior to the previous one. So when we went to Pranamaya, it said that Pranamaya is different from Annamaya and interior to Annamaya. When we went to Manomaya, it said Manomaya is different from Pranamaya and interior to Manomaya. When we went to Vijnanamaya, it said the same thing. When we went to Anandamaya, we did not say the same thing. You look at the word. When it up to Vijnanamaya, it said, look for one interior to the previous one. Right? Anyo Antara Atma means there is one more Atma which is interior to and different to. And this was there up to where? Up to Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya also, it's the same thing. Anyo Antara Atma, the beginning of this Anuvaka, it said that. And we said this Anandamaya is different from Vijnanamaya and interior to. Okay. But if you look after Anandamaya, it is not there, this phrase. Anyo Antara Atma is not there. So there could be a doubt that everywhere it says interior to and different from to indicate that the previous one was a kosha, right? When it said that in Pranamaya, it's an indication that Annamaya was a kosha. When it said in Manomaya, it's an indication that Pranamaya was a kosha. When it said that in Vijnanamaya, it's an indication that Manomaya was a kosha. When it said that in Anandamaya, it's an indication that Vijnanamaya was a kosha, but it doesn't say so after Anandamaya. So this Purvapakshi asks, because it doesn't say after Anandamaya, it is an indication that Anandamaya is not a kosha. And therefore there is nothing interior. It doesn't say Anyaha Antaraha. There is nothing different from Anandamaya. There is nothing interior to Anandamaya. Therefore, how can you say that Anandamaya is a kosha? The very word Panchakosha is wrong. There are only 4 koshas. Have you understood the argument?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, Acharya.
What could be an answer?
This Om sir, can I try?
Yes, please go ahead.
Uh, could it be that when we reach the Anandamaya Kosha level, it is undifferentiated? There is no separate identity at the Anandamaya Kosha level. Could that be one reason?
Well, Possibly.
Or the subtlest amongst all the subtlest?
No. See,
No.
basically, the Atma, the original Atma, the Karana Atma, right? That is that into which all the koshas are resolved, right? All the Karya Atmas resolve into the kosha, into the finally, like the Annamaya resolves into Pranamaya, Pranamaya into Manomaya, Manomaya into Vijnanamaya, Vijnanamaya into Anandamaya, and Anandamaya also resolves into the original Atma, right? So, what are the reasons? Shankara gives some reasons. He says, first you look at the contextual meaning. Where is this discussion occurring? This discussion about Anandamaya, where is it occurring? It is occurring in that portion of the Upanishad where the koshas have been discussed. So Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya are being discussed. And because of the very context itself, in Anandamaya also, the meaning of kosha needs to be given. That is the first reasoning that he gives. The second reasoning is the suffix maya appears in all the four koshas also and appears in Anandamaya also. Therefore, how can you take it as different from the earlier four? And therefore, because of the word maya, which literally means product, in this case, coming and going product, which is a kosha. Koshas come and go. And therefore, because of the appearance of the word maya in Anandamaya also, and in the previous four koshas, Anandamaya also has to be taken as a kosha. Right? And now, when a jnani does this meditation, he goes beyond all the koshas. Right? Like if you look at the way it is presented, you have to cross each kosha to reach the Atma. Right? Therefore, he crosses Annamaya, he crosses Pranamaya, he crosses Manomaya, he crosses Vijnanamaya. And the last kosha, which is to be crossed over, is said to be Anandamaya. And therefore, Anandamaya is also included as something to be crossed over. Why? Because he is Ananda Atma, which means he has left Anandamaya behind. Is it not? And therefore, along with the other four, he has also crossed Anandamaya. Anandamaya is also something like the other four, which needs to be crossed over. And the last and most important argument is the Atma itself has no components. What about Anandamaya? It's got Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. Right? And therefore, Anandamaya is with parts. Savayavam. Savayavam is Sa Avayavam. Avayavam means part. Sa Avayavam. Anandamaya has got parts. But Brahman, Nir Avayavam, has got no parts. Okay. Now, if Shankara adds here that Vijnanamaya is the Karta, right? We all know Vijnanamaya kosha is the Karta, and therefore Vijnanamaya associated with what? With karma. Anandamaya is Bhokta. A Bhokta is associated with what? With the karma phalam. Shankara asks a question. Which is more dear to you? The karma or the karma phalam? What is the answer?
Karma phalam.
Karma phalam. Why? Because all karma is done for karma phalam only. And therefore he says, since bhokta is the dearer thing, the bhokta atma, which is Anandamaya, has to be closer to Atma. Therefore, the innermost upadhi has to be Anandamaya only. Okay. One more important point is that this Ananda in the mantra, remember it has no gradings. The Priya, Moda, Pramoda grading is for Anandamaya, but Ananda itself has no gradings. And therefore it is not Pratibimba Ananda, not reflected Ananda. It is Bimba Ananda, the original Ananda. Okay. Now the question is, this Priya, Moda, Pramoda, what are they? They are all what? Vrittis. They are all thoughts. And remember that when I say I am experiencing some pleasure when I see the strawberry ice cream, that is Priya. But it means that that pleasure on seeing the ice cream is being reflected in the vritti, in the thought. I am seeing what I like. The thought is that I am seeing this strawberry ice cream. In that thought, which is the reflecting medium, the Ananda, Bimba Ananda is being reflected. And that Bimba Ananda being reflected in the thought, I am seeing this ice cream which I like. That is called Pratibimba Ananda, which is given the name Priya. Right? Similarly, when I go and buy the strawberry ice cream, now there is a thought, this strawberry ice cream now belongs to me. So in that vritti, this strawberry ice cream belongs to me, Bimba Ananda reflection is there. And that Pratibimba Ananda, the reflected Ananda in this thought is given the name Moda. Similarly, when I eat the ice cream, there is a thought, I am enjoying this ice cream very much. That is the reflecting medium on which the original Ananda is reflected. That Bimba Ananda reflection, the Pratibimba Ananda, on this thought that I am eating the ice cream, that is given the name Pramoda. Okay. Now comes a important question. These vrittis, right, are where these are
In the
in the mind, yes. But these
yes,
are very, very subtle vrittis. And therefore the mind itself, which is having these sukshma vrittis, Priya, Moda, Pramoda, right? The mind which has the sukshma vrittis, that mind is referred to as what? Anandamaya Kosha. Remember that these vrittis are anatma, they are jada. They do not have ananda of their own. Right? It is always pratibimba ananda, reflected ananda. And the reflection is from the original bimbananda, the brahmananda or atmananda. Vrittis are anatma, and that anatma is reflecting the bimbananda. That reflected vritti is giving you priya, pramoda and moda. That combination is being referred to as Anandamaya Kosha. Now, again, because vrittis are anatma, remember anatma cannot reflect sat, chit, ananda of its own, excepting if it's in a particular mode, right? Like for example, yours, when it is subtle enough to be your mind, then your mind can reflect chit. The physical body always reflects sat. Existence is there, that is why physical body exists. The mind reflects sat and chit both, right? Now, because these three vrittis are very, very subtle, Priya, Moda, Pramoda, they are very sattvika vrittis. They are called Shanta vrittis. And because of their extreme subtlety, fineness, sukshmatvam, they have a special quality. What is that? They can act as a reflecting medium for ananda. Remember that no other vritti can have this ananda abhasa. No vritti excepting these three vrittis can reflect ananda. For example, kama vritti. I want this. Or I want that. That has got what? Chidabhasa. Anger vritti. I don't like that person. Jealousy vritti. They have got what? Chidabhasa. Why are these vrittis called sukshma vrittis? Because they are sattva dominant. They don't have tamoguna at all, or they have tamoguna, of course. All vrittis will have 3 gunas, but sattva is predominantly overwhelming over here. And therefore, they are very, very subtle vrittis. And therefore, only they can reflect ananda. The other vrittis like kama, krodha, all those things, they are only chidabhasa. But these 3 vrittis, they have not only chidabhasa, they have ananda abhasa also. They are capable of reflecting ananda. What is the result? Bimbananda is reflected in these vrittis. And because of that reflected ananda, Shastra calls the vrittis themselves as ananda. The Priya, Moda, Pramoda is ananda only. And we should note that the original ananda, the Bimba ananda, and the reflected ananda cannot be physically separated, right? The separation has to be,
Sir,
yeah.
I'm so sorry. Could you just repeat the name of the vritti again, because the voice broke for me?
Vritti, I said, vritti is what? Moda, Priya, Moda, Pramoda.
No. You said that Shastra names these vritti itself as
Ananda.
Okay.
They're
Thank
all
you so
called
much.
Ananda only, right?
Yeah.
And so because of this reflected Ananda, I said, the vrittis themselves are generally referred to as Ananda. When I say that I am experiencing Ananda, what I am saying is that there is a vritti which I have, which is a very sukshma vritti, which is predominantly sattvic. And in that sattvic vritti, which is either of any of these 3, Priya, Moda, Pramoda, any of these 3 vrittis, my Bimbananda is being reflected. And that is why I am saying that I am in a state of Ananda. You are referring to the vritti themselves, Ananda. And again, because of the fact that one is the OC, one is the RC, and the RM is there, there is no physical separation possible at all. The separation is only cognitive, intellectual. And therefore, very important corollary is here that there is actually, when you say Ananda, there is only Bimbananda. The RC, the Pratibimba Ananda, you are labeling as Vishaya Ananda. We say this object provides me happiness, Vishaya Ananda. And the Shruti here is saying that is a big misconception. That Vishaya Ananda is a false label. Because there is no such thing as Vishaya Ananda. There is only a Pratibimba Ananda which is not really different from Vishaya. That is why, when you come to the Jnani stage, we say that for the Jnani, the sense objects are not a prohibited thing. Why? Because the happiness from the sense objects, which is Vishayananda, is actually nothing but Bimba Ananda. How can you prohibit Bimba Ananda? That is a very nature. So Vishayananda is prohibited for people only at the sadhana stage. Why? Because there is a danger that they will focus only on the Vishayananda and lose sight of the fact that there is an inquiry to be carried on, that there is a jnanam to be obtained. That is why Vishayananda is a prohibition for the sadhakas, but not for a jnani. So that's a side point which I wanted to make. And there he says, Tadapi esha shloko bhavati. In this context, a ring mantra is being quoted, which brings us to Anuvaka number 6, which we shall see in the next class. Any questions?
Sir, you said Priya Moda and Pramoda, you had said they are sattva dominant.
Yes.
There were some other vrittis you had mentioned which you said are not
Any
the
vritti,
subtle.
kama, krodha, lobha,
Okay.
they're all born from different dominances. Anger, for example, is a lot of rajas in it. Jealousy also, all of that kind of thing. You just look at the vritti, see which guna is dominant. Only in the happiness vrittis, only in the ananda vrittis, Sattva is dominant.
Hmm.
Everywhere else, either tamas or rajas.
Right.
So it's a very important point that only these three vrittis can reflect Ananda. All other vrittis, they have got Chidabhasa, but they don't have Ananda Abhasa. Only this vritti has Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat obviously because vritti is existing. Chit is there, consciousness, and Ananda is there.
So, sir, one question comes to my mind. It may be silly or irrelevant. Then, when we give the example of ice cream or whatever we like, isn't that a very anatma vritti which we are talking about? How do we relate it to this?
Every vritti is Anatma. Which vritti is Atma? There is no such thing as Atma
No,
vritti.
there is nothing. Yeah, but we still say that it is closest to the Bimbananda, and it is a very, very subtle vritti, we say, when we are using these examples.
Correct, because you are talking about a vritti which can generate Ananda, right?
Okay.
I use the
Yes.
term, ice cream. You can use anything
Yes.
if you like.
Right. Got it, sir. Got it.
Sir, could you just repeat the Jnani's view whenever he gets Pratibimbananda, he knows eventually it's the Bimbananda, and his very nature, his Swarupa is Ananda. Like how does he reflect on any sense objects?
Yatra yatra mano yati, tatra tatra samadhaya. Where did you come across that?
Drikdrishya.
What does it mean?
That whatever I see is Atma.
That's it. Whenever you see what is Atma, you are seeing Ananda. And therefore, for Jnani, there is no such thing as Vishayananda. Everything is Bimbananda alone. What is the prohibition? There is no prohibition. Which is why they say that Jnani is beyond Shastram. Because there is no need for him to be prohibited by anything. Because he sees everything as Atma alone, as Brahman alone.
Oh, Macharaji,
Yes, June.
can you repeat again why the Anyantara Atma was not used after the Anandamaya Kosha? It was not clear for me.
Because, so that's the very reason, because it is not used. That is why the Purva Pakshi said that it is a kosha. So that is the way the Shruti is. They have not used it. And therefore the doubt comes, is it a kosha or not? You see the point.
Yes.
The doubt is because that Anyantara is not used. It could very well have been used to say that the original Atma is interior to that. But the point being made by Shruti is very, very subtle. Is the Anandamaya different from the original Atma? Is the original Atma is what? Sat Chit Ananda. Is Anandamaya different from that? No. No Anatma is different from Atma. So that up till this stage, now we have been talking about Atma is different, Anatma is different, Atma is different, Anatma is different. But really speaking, you have to go back to the example of the gold and the necklace. There is no difference at all. The necklace is nothing but the gold. That is what is being said here. Even though we said the 5 air koshas, by not separating this over here, indicating that Atma is interior to Anandamaya kosha, it is saying that there really is no difference at all. Because Atma is the very substratum of all the koshas. And that's why Shankara gave 3 examples. That why it has to be considered a kosha. Number 1 was what? There is a contextual meaning because the discussion is in the kosha stage. Number 2, there is Maya is there. Maya means product. So that's how 2 reasons were given. And what is the 3rd reason? Do you remember?
It has parts.
It has parts.
3 parts.
Because of these three reasons, you have to take Anandamaya as kosha. So it's an explanation for the fact that the Anyavantara is not given there. It's to be understood as, don't take Anandamaya as the Atma. It is a kosha only. Okay, so if there are no questions, I would encourage you to, go over all your notes again, because without, everything being there, readily available in your random access memory, it's going to be difficult from now onwards. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Acharya ji.
Shivaya, thank you.